Good morning, friends. My name is Paolo from the Italian radio of Florida, the radio of common sense, a radio that is dedicated to look and find and interview people from those different branches of life that can help us to progress not only ourselves, but to give some help to those that they are listening to us. Today, we have from the Mauritius a very special person, Dr. Mauro Rango, that with the help of Tini, which is going to help us with the translation from Italian to English. And we are going to basically talk about a subject that we are all interested in, because since our life and our health is the most important thing that we have been receiving, we are trying to find some answers from these doctors that he can direct us in that path that will help us to strengthen ourselves and help all those that we get in contact with. We are going to start with the first question, and we would like to ask the doctor to introduce himself so that we are going to basically understand where he comes from, the experiences that he has, so that we are going to benefit from those. Doctor, please.
Okay, hello, I'm Tini, and I will translate the answers of Mauro Rango. Okay, Mauro is active in Rodrigues, which is an island at about 600 kilometers from Mauritius in Africa. He obtained his degree in human rights at the Faculty of Political Sciences in Padova, and he works in the field of health law. Together with the local government, he has been active on several international projects, bringing doctors and psychiatrists to the island, transferring children with leukemia to Italy to have them cured properly. And he works with the local government with a kind of Ministry of Health in Rodrigues, which has quite a high degree of autonomy, even in the field of, in the legislative field, in the field of law. So he works together with the local sanitary authorities. He's on many projects. He has also worked on books about prevention against cancer, for example. And the rest we will take to the next question. So far the introduction.
Doctor, we have been receiving a message in the chat that he was basically talking about you and some information as far as was concerned how to get in touch with you. So we contact you so that we are going to be able to find out directly what your position is on the issues that we have been discussing even before. So if you could elaborate a little bit about it, we would be glad to take some notes and maybe ask you more questions after you have explained your position.
So, okay, the second question. Mauro Rango confesses that he is quite ignorant if it comes to using internet, Facebook, social media. Thanks to his son, he learned a little bit how to get about with those means, but basically he only works with WhatsApp from the island, and that's it. Now he's learning because he received a lot of reactions after a message that he sent on WhatsApp last Monday. Why did he send this message, and what message did he send? So what happened? Last Monday, an Italian friend of his told Mauro about a professor called Burioni, professor virology, and he's been talking on the Italian television several times. Also leaving very dubious information. On the 2nd of February, for example, he stated, and you can all check this, of course, that the coronavirus was not circulating in Italy, on the 2nd of February, in the same famous show called Ciancio. It's one of the #1 TV shows in Italy. Now, Mauro Rango got upset because this Professor Burioni was not saying properly things against science, not even medical science, but against just any reasonable way of thinking that all the people hopefully have, because he is against, or he was like putting emphasis on negative aspects of a therapy that instead has already saved a lot of lives, hyperimmune plasma. And Mauro Rango will explain later what this is all about. And an entire protocol that has been adopted by the government in Mauritius on March the 8th. And ever since, there were no cases anymore, lethal cases. Only one, but this person was maybe already functionally compromised and wouldn't have made it anyway. So Mauro Rango wrote emails like for 2 months, trying to reach journals, magazines, newspapers in Italy to say that a lot of lives in Italy could have been saved if only they had followed this protocol that in a very small place like Mauritius was like officially announced to be the protocol to be followed by COVID-19 doctors, so to speak. Without success, he couldn't get through, and so as he wants to save lives, human lives all over the place, not only in Italy, because he's active in other countries, he decided to write this WhatsApp message, defending himself, or criticizing also what was said in this famous TV show, which is not correct information, according to Mauro.
Can you please explain to us how this therapy of yours is going to be effective to help the people, like you were saying before?
Mauro Rango would like to put emphasis on the fact that, according to him, a big mistake has been committed, concentrating on the virus and not on the target organ, the lungs, to take care of people, to cure and to heal them. Of course, he wants to make clear that he is not against, obviously, the fantastic work and the study and the research that is being done by virologists and immunologists. But it's the doctors that know what is going on, the lung experts, so the pulmonologists. And they know what this virus is doing to the body, because research and studies have now pointed out that it's not the virus in itself that is so dangerous or that is able to kill the human body. It's a too harsh reaction of the immunity system. So this enormous inflammation that has to be stopped, because this inflammation causes thrombi, so it causes the formation of blood clots. And of course, if the blood doesn't arrive to the lungs anymore, then it's quite useless to ventilate lungs, And a lot of people in Italy have only been given oxygen. Now, how to stop then this inflammation to prevent the thrombosis and and to keep people from dying. So how can we do that? Combining, and this is very important because you can't do anything with hydroxychloroquine by itself. You need to combine from the start in the first phase, so even from home, and Mauro Rango will specify the dose and everything. So azithromycin, azithromycin, which is an antibiotic, together with this anti-malaria drug, also being used against lupus and against rheumatoid arthritis, by the way. So the combination is very important, and the timing is very important. Now, trying to prove that this protocol doesn't work using experiments like they started doing in Italy a while ago, where the patients already are in an advanced stadium of the disease, of course, then this experiment is worth nothing, because you have to do it from the start when you start showing symptoms. Now, Dr. In Italian, Dottor Mauro Rango. So Mauro Rango will now explain more about this protocol. Mauro Rango would like to bring to people's attention that the basic mistake is that only one product, one chemical substance has been used. I mean, it's not enough to use only hydroxychloroquine, because also in the foreign press, a lot has been written about the pros and the cons of this product. But the right protocol is the one that Trump, and it sounds like a paradox, but from the beginning, Trump seemed to be informed by a pulmonologist of the old school, knowing that the combination is very important of the antibiotic azithromycin and together with a hydroxychloroquine. Because those products have been used also, like in silence in Italy, various people, also doctors, have used this protocol, knowing about it, but not always allowed to say it out loud, not to risk their job, because it's also not a coincidence that the professors and the doctors he got also very valuable information from are, for example, professors that are emeritus, that are retired and that don't risk their job yet. And he didn't even want to say this. I mean, he's already going maybe a little bit beyond what he wanted to say or beyond what he was supposed to say, but he felt like saying it anyway, so I'm translating this. Now, in absence of the plasma, which is necessary if the protocol with the azithromycin and the hydroxychloroquine, if those products, if this combination doesn't work, and if it gets worse. So very important is to look at the gravity and the phase in which the disease is. In absence of this, they worked in Italian hospitals also sporadically, but never as an officially announced protocol like in Mauritius, with azithromycin, also cortisone, and hydroxychloroquine. I'm sorry. Now, when you go to the next phase where you need plasma, because plasma, hyperimmune plasma is the correct word, of course, it follows, the antibodies, the hyperimmune plasma, it follows the virus, also the mutations of the virus, because some believe also that the virus has already mutated, and Rango will say more about that possibly after. of course, the plasma has to be combined also with like a powerful anti-inflammatory and then also anticoagulant, like this famous heparina that has been used also against Ebola. And then also anti-aggregants, platelet anti-aggregants against this the formation of those thrombi we were talking about before. Now, doing this experiment we mentioned before with 10 people who need to be compromised by pneumonia for at least 10 days or even 20 days and in heavy conditions. If this experiment is not going to be successful, but if this experiment is going to be used to prove that the hyperimmune plasma is not efficient, then of course anybody who has buon senso, everybody who's got a brain of their own, they can understand that this is a bit strange, to do this experiment this way. Like in Spain, Mauro Rango says, like in Spain, like in France, like in the UK, also in the United States, apparently, after a quite clear picture of the situation through his advisors from the old pulmonology school, apparently some academic people or people we don't want to give titles or names are able to block the coming through of a protocol that has been proved to be efficient, because all the doctors and the professors in Italy, Mauro Rango was in touch with, they also healed their own disease, because a lot of doctors also died in Italy, but some doctors also managed doing this protocol to save themselves from a fatal exit. Then he wants to point out and to put emphasis on the fact that, of course, Mauro Rango is not against a vaccine. I mean, if only there was a vaccine, he would also, of course, gladly use it. But we all know that we're quite far, some say 15 months, 18 months from like a general worldwide distribution of this vaccine once it will have been created. And so it's now that we have to save lives. And that is the main objective, of course, of Mauro Rango. And this is why he wanted to reply to Professor Burioni, who criticized Mauro Rango, whereas Mauro Rango, with facts, is only proving that with existing medicines and using a very old and respected technique of hyperimmune plasma, if this should be applied, a lot of lives could have been saved and will be still saved. And now he will talk about one breakthrough that he also helped to come through regarding a plasma bank in Italy. So that he will tell about, I think, in the next question also.
Why do you think that this small little enemy, this virus, has not been correctly addressed by those people that actually they are supposed to give us some answers, and they went in the wrong direction?
Okay, so answering to the question whether or how it is possible that this virus might have escaped out of the control of virologists and immunologists. Mauro Rango basically claims that he would rather not answer this question because this is not his field. So he can have an opinion on the origin of the virus, but he has not seen the RNA sequence. He's also repeating, of course, that he's not a doctor, but for personal reasons, he's been in touch for a lifetime with the signs of lungs and how they work, and lung diseases and how you can contrast them. And so he says that he considers himself to be a very profound connoisseur, if we use this word. It's French, but like he knows very well what he's talking about. But he's not a doctor. He has not seen the RNA sequence. And if he has to express an opinion regarding, for example, the theory by Luc Montagnier, Montagnier is a very respected person in theory, but of course, also now there's like the two groups, and he sustains, Luc Montagnier, that if this virus was created in a laboratorium, then it was because there seems to be like a different strain of RNA within the virus, and that is not natural. So that would be never a natural virus. But then he says that it would have escaped from out of the hands of an incompetent scientist anyway. But he leaves this question to the people in the field.
Basically, my question is, according to what you just said before, since this virus is not lethal, at least not as lethal as we have been told, and since the reason why people get sick is because of the fact of the response that our immune system has towards this virus, that creates these challenges as far as our pulmonary system is concerned, all these thrombies that are actually occluding the capillaries and whatever. I was wondering if we have a stronger immune system, of course, and that would be aided by the kind of lifestyle that we do have, the mental stability, most of all also from the exercises and the food that we partake, and also by using those elements, those vitamins that we have been given by nature, by God, vitamin C, vitamin D, they come from the sun, vitamin A, and whatever. Would we be able to avoid really to get to the point where medical attention is needed to be able to avoid all the consequences by sometimes even death?
Well, Mauro Rango would like to remind us that obviously a person that is happy to be on this earth and like consuming greedily fruit, vegetables, fresh vegetables, and doing a lot of physical activity is in generally less exposed to the contraction of any disease whatsoever. Still, he wants to point out that also young and healthy doctors and people, patients, died. But to give like a responsible answer to this question, he would put together a team of biologists, virologists, and immunologists. But in general, it's always very good to take care of our immunity system through a healthy lifestyle, a healthy diet and movement. Okay, that's Mauro's answer.
I do not actually remember exactly what he has been said before, but I would appreciate if you could explain why an antibacterial product, like I think you said azithromycin, can help against a virus.
The seventh question, one could wonder, because Paolo asked, how is it possible that an antibiotic that is known to be used against bacteria, that it also helps in fighting a virus like COVID-19? Well, Mauro's answer is that in the history of medicine in general, also by chance, doctors and scientists found out that one existing medicine, typically used for one particular disease, could also be efficient in the fight against some other disease. Now, in this case, what we know about azithromycin, for example, and this is a study that has been done, you can check it on internet. If you put into Google Michael Lizzanti, he is an Italian researcher, and he works abroad, but doctors in Italy copied his discovery because he treated people with breast cancer in Pisa. They did this experiment without chemio, because we all know that chemio has devastating side effects, if we can still call them side effects. And so he used a combination of azithromycin and another antibiotic called doxycycline, doxycyclina, and also intravenous vitamin C given to the patient. And this combination would be able to kill stem cells, cancer stem cells. So it would disintegrate, it would kill the bad cells in a cancer. And this therapy, this experiment in Pisa was very successful. But then again, here the handicap of these medicines could possibly be that they are very cheap. And then the rest we leave to your imagination. It's enough to know that this experiment has not been repeated after. So that's it for this question.
Okay, Mauro, is there anything else that you can add as far as the therapy is concerned, so that we can basically have a full understanding of what this program, this protocol actually would be?
Answering the question about how the protocol works concretely, Mauro Rango explains that the protocol, as it has been officially announced by the government to be used by doctors on March the 8th already, is the following. So from home, when you show symptoms, you should take 1 tablet per day for 6 days of azithromycin, and at the same time, for 7 days, 400 milligrams per day of hydroxychloroquine, which normally corresponds with 1 tablet of 200 milligrams in the morning and 1 of 200 milligrams in the evening. Okay, if this doesn't give any result, if the disease gets worse, then you should obviously go to hospital, where then hyperimmune plasma is given to you, and then the treating doctors obviously know what other medicines to combine this with, being possibly anticoagulants, cortisone, and anti-aggregants, but that we leave obviously to doctors, and they know. They're supposed to know what they're doing. This hyperimmune plasma offers a specific defense because it's it's using the antibodies from ex-COVID-19 patients. And so the plasma knows what to do. It follows the virus, as they say. And the criticism that this is dangerous, for example, expressed, for example, by Professor Burioni, this is against any buon senso, against any logics, because this therapy has existed of using hyperimmune plasma since 1891, and also in situations like the Spanish flu, it has been applied and used by doctors, and it's what doctors do also in absence of a specific medicine, as in this case. Several doctors in Italy have successfully used this method, and they also expressed, they're being quite perplexed when they listen to Professor Burioni only talking about, the negative aspect of this therapy. Because of course it's true that the plasma might be not efficient enough in terms of the quantity to fight this virus, and obviously if you take plasma from people with a bad disease, you pass this disease to the treated patient. But that is so obvious. This taking plasma and producing plasma happens through a standard procedure, through machines, and obviously the blood is being checked on the presence or absence of HIV, hepatitis, and other diseases. But that is also quite obvious. Unfortunately, the World Health Organization has not given the permission to governments to use, hyperimmune plasma. In Italy, there's been, after the discussions also triggered by the criticism expressed by Mauro, the governor of the region Venice, Veneto, Venice is the head capital, of course, of this region. The governor, actually, this is the president of the region Veneto. After all this discussion, he decided to get a plasma bank implemented in Padova, where Mauro studied at the university, by the way, and they're going to send out 3,600 invitations, or they have already been sent out. Anyway, it's happening in this period, asking people to donate ex-COVID-19 patients with antibodies that hopefully are efficient. So they invited these people to give their blood. So blood donation, of course, is a delicate issue, because we don't know how many people are going to respond and how people are going to put at disposal their plasma. But even if on 3,600 people, you can, with the plasma, you can draw from them, from the people that show up, even if you can cure 600 people, then is this not worth it? That's the impression that is being given, which is quite ununderstandable, and also maybe quite terrible. That's the answer for now to this question.
Since we are seeing that the problem is not only the health of the people, which definitely it's a vital importance, but also the economy is suffering a lot. As you know, we are conducting this interview from Florida, so we are not only concerned about what is going to be done in Italy, since our heart is there, not physically, but our heart is there. But also we are concerned about the situation here in the United States. What would you suggest that it can be done to be able to overcome this situation at the stage that we are here right now?
Mauro wants to start from the experience that he directly lived through in Mauritius, where, as he mentioned before, ever since the protocol was officially announced by the government on March the 8th, the mortality dramatically dropped. There was still only one person that had a fatal exit, but this case needs further analysis, because it might be a person that was already, as they call it, functionally compromised. The people who contracted the disease should be about 400. on the island. And before the protocol, 9 people died. After the protocol, only 1 person left his life, with the details I just mentioned a minute ago. But then we go to Mauro's experience in Italy, because being Italian and being in contact through his job that he's been doing for 40 years, 30 years, he's in touch, 40 years, 30, 40 years, he's in touch, and he knows profoundly, he has a lot of friends that are doctors and also professors that work in the field, and also people that are responsible for the management of certain areas for what the coronavirus is concerned. And in certain area, and obviously he cannot give the name of this person for quite understandable reasons, or not here and now, because he only allows himself to say all these things because he has all the documentation. He is documented, and he's also willing to give also more information, but to free and independent journalists. And anyway, it doesn't matter at this moment. Anyway, these people who, or in this area where they gave to whomever just showed a symptom, treating them with this protocol was absolutely successful. But they didn't even know yet whether those people had effectively COVID-19. But they followed this protocol and used it for anybody showing any symptoms. And that was very, very successful. Then he also knows a lot of people who gave him information comparing the hospital departments where this protocol was followed and others where the protocol was not followed. And the results and the comparison, the results that come out of this comparison are really very self-explanatory. They're very obvious. Now, his personal belief is on the basis of the facts that he collected and the information that he got from people working in the front line. On the basis of this collected material and evidence, his belief is that in about 3 weeks in America, the economy can be reopened. So let's say if Monday, tomorrow is the 11th of May, then should, starting from today, this protocol be carefully applied with another condition that I'll immediately speak about, then about at the end of May, the economy could be reopened. But there's another important condition, and that is the management of this protocol should be in the hands of a competent person, obviously, but also a free person that is not conditioned and that is not afraid to risk any job. And the timing is very, very important. This person that manages the protocol, so being mainly doctors, obviously, they have to be able to have access freely to all the things that need to be done to apply this protocol seriously. Including organ examinations and doing analysis of liquid in the lungs. If it's the right people that are in charge of the management of this protocol, and he already spoke about this before, then we higher the chance of success and of being able to reopen the country. The mortality would namely go down to under 1%. So consider that a normal flu has a low mortality, but because of the existing vaccine. and it would even go under that mortality. Studies have also showed that the mortality basically is low. But in this case, if we apply this protocol, the mortality would go to under 1%. And this allows an economy to reopen. So far the answer to this question.
Unfortunately, the time is our enemy at this point. But there is something that I would like to ask you as well. What is the reason why you are doing all this?
It's Mauro's nature to help people. So when Mauro says, if I see a person that is in difficulty, also on the street, I just stop and I take this person to the hospital. It's just my nature, and it's very frustrating to see how people in Italy, where he knows a lot of people and where a lot of friends lost their beloved relatives or friends, especially in the very hit places and towns like Bergamo, Brescia, Milano, but it doesn't matter where. It's just very frustrating to see that if there is a cure that has been proven already to be successful, that it's not being used, and especially in absence of a specific medicine. So he learned, unfortunately, about also personally about people that died because of the fact that they only received oxygen, and so these are people that could have lived, because he's also mentioning a healthy person, a bit elderly, but in perfect health condition. But as this person, and then also the two parents of another friend died because of the same reason, because they only received oxygen. So a lot of people could have been saved and could be still saved. Now, fortunately, the virus is going down naturally. It's like losing energy in Italy, but this is not the case yet in the USA. But okay, we'll finish with that. You asked me why I'm doing this. I'm talking now on behalf of Mauro. He said, I got so angry last Monday when I learned from this friend of mine, as he mentioned at the beginning of the interview, what was being said on a very, very famous TV show, Fabrizio, in Italy. Because he wrote, he had been writing already before last Monday for 2 months to newspapers, a lot of newspapers, and he tried to reach people of which he would have expected also more like independence and freedom, but without success. And then it's very frustrating to see that there's still, after the relative victory of the implementation of the plasma bank, as we said before, but they're still apparently trying to block it somehow, generally speaking. The virus is getting weaker as it appears. Hopefully this trend will be confirmed because the lockdown is gradually being eased, but we don't know the results of that yet. Anyway, in the USA, the situation is still very, very dramatic, and then if the USA uses this protocol and makes a treasure of this information, then it will probably also go to the UK, where the situation has been also very, very tragic. Mauro is now also helping new countries, other countries where now it's becoming a serious problem, like Senegal, Somalia, Chile, and also French-speaking India. Also French-speaking areas in the world are now asking for French translations. Okay, and then he said that I spontaneously offered my collaboration because 1 week ago we basically didn't know each other yet. So I've been translating to help my friends, to inform my friends and family abroad in Belgium but all over the place. And on doctors, because I also find it a scandal that this is something, a personal note, that there's no such thing as a kind of international cross-border forum where all doctors can learn from the doctors that were first confronted with this disease. And so I spontaneously translated him, then rectifying, because I also thought, because of confusion with the titles, that he was a doctor, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't compromise the information, which is factual information anyway, that Mauro gives. And then in my second video, Mauro, when we met virtually, he asked me to redo the video a little bit to spread information in the world and to help people and to help doctors, even if we're not doctors ourselves. But everything that Mauro says is very documented, and he's a health law specialist, and he collected all his material from doctors, frontline doctors, and experts, also pulmonologists from the old school who believe in the efficiency of hyperimmune plasma. So, yeah, I added something here, but I don't think that this is something that Mauro would not like the world to know. So this is it, I think.
Vorrei aggiungere ancora una cosa che ho scordato.
Mauro learned that this morning, so Sunday, here in Italy, the Prime Minister Conte, he would have decided to communicate. I haven't heard this myself yet, to be honest, but tonight probably in the news we will all see that he will talk about the Italians probably being able to go on holiday in July and in August, which are the principal holiday months for the Italians. With the virus getting less virulent, and so this positive news is about to be shared, or is going to be shared now in these hours. But Mauro would like to add that should, with the opening up or with the end or the totally slowing down of the lockdown, should we have a second wave, then the mortality will still be high. So all the more it's important to be prepared. And obviously he hopes that with this interview he contributed somehow to preparing patients and doctors, everybody who wants to know it, for a second wave, and with still high mortality should it arrive then. For the US, so it's not only news this for the US, this is only news, also news for Italy. But we're all interconnected, and basically this video, obviously this interview is for the whole world. And then he would like to add something, but he's going to do that now.
The very last question that I would like to ask you is what kind of advices would you have for those doctors that they are at this point trying to help others so that they might be able to actually do that?
Mauro finds it at first sight very difficult to give advice, to the doctors that are, like heroes and working double shifts, not realizing in what kind of surreal context they landed from one day to another. And but not only doctors, all the staff that is in and around hospitals and the nurses and all the staff involved, that started leading totally abnormal lives, very stressful lives also, because being exposed to a high risk and fighting an unknown enemy, because most people obviously got contaminated and infected in this environment, in the hospitals. So at first sight, he doesn't feel entitled to give any advice to these heroes that he would only like to show his maximum respect and admiration. But a lot of them also died, according to him, according to Mauro. They died for no reason, in the sense that their death could have been avoided. So he would rather ask. He's launching a call towards the doctors that are retired, pulmonologists that are retired, because they don't risk any job, but they remain doctors. They can prescribe, they can make medical prescriptions for the rest of their lives. It's not because they're retired. Basically, a lot of retired doctors have also been called back to the hospital. And he would ask them or invite them to testify and to bring their knowledge, the people who confirm the protocol as explained and pointed out by Mauro. He would like those doctors to convince and to talk with the other doctors and all medical staff involved, to have a profound look to this approach and to follow this protocol, not to block the very, according to him, efficient therapy of hyperimmune plasma, together with, as we explained before, in the first phase, because the timing is important, but we're not going to repeat that, the azithromycin and the hydroxychloroquine. That's his appeal, his invitation. So basically, to save as many lives as possible.
Mauro, is there anything else that you would like to add over and above what had been said at this point?
Mauro would like to add that it is totally not his intention to be on one side rather than on the other side of anybody whatsoever, because Mauro just wants to make people, COVID-19 patients, doctors, but all the people reason about some paradoxes that seem to have appeared in this whole dramatic situation, and he just wants to help passing on positive information to anybody in the world who can do something with this factual information. So it is not political. It is not meant to be criticizing the Italian government. It is just replying to who doesn't seem to listen to basic concepts that could help and save a lot of people. So I think it's quite clear that all the criticism that has been expressed towards him is really not to the point. It has no reason to exist. So that's how Mauro would like to end this interview. That's what he wanted to add.
We would like to thank you for your willingness and desire to share with us the information that you did. and also for your desire to help, which we share with you as well. And we are going to do as much as we can at the Italian radio in Florida to share what we have been hearing from you today, your example of helping others and the desire to do what is possible to share this information will be in our heart as well as it is in yours. Thank you very much for your time. And we want to say also to Tini the same thing. We really appreciate you being with us and helping Mauro to bring to the American people this message that I think this is the right time to share. And I really hope that those people that they are in the government and they are going to be able to take advantage of it, that actually will do it so that life can be saved and actually the truth can prevail. As you know, we have been talking about so far, il buon senso, the common sense. It's really actually what it needs to take place in all of us, not only in our mind, but also in our hearts, so that we can do the best that we can for the goodness of humanity. Thank you. Grazie molto.
Mauro is thanking Fabrizio, Paolo, and Donata for their amazing openness and this attitude of willingness to pass information, important information from one country to another, because more than ever we're all united and we have to fight this battle together. And he also would like to express his special thanks because this attitude is very hard to find. But with this radio that is promoting the common sense and just thinking with our own brains and being critical to all work together towards a solution for everybody, this is very difficult to find. So he really appreciates that. And then he thanks me, but he has done that before and he'll do it after. So I'm not going to translate that. And I was very happy to my contribution to all this. What?
Thank you very much, Tini, for your contribution, for your free contribution, and that you and. Thank you very much.
Happy to do it. Really happy to do it. And I learned a lot myself.